I don't do a lot of these presentations in front of teachers, so it's a little intimidating, but I think it'll work out fine. And one of the reasons for recording it, hey, something's going crazy. One of the reasons for recording it would be that I can go back and say that I was coherent or I was incoherent. So we're going for coherent. So I guess I need to put on my teacher voice. So actually my background is in chemistry. So but I say I teach physical science because we're a small college and I pick up a little astronomy. I teach exploring physical science, which has chemistry, astronomy, meteorology, and physics and earth science. So physical science, that's what I do. And by the way, a little bit about me is I've been teaching for, this is like 17 years, 16, 17 years. So it's been an interesting road. I've chosen to kind of go over things that you might use in your face-to-face classes, but they could also be used in your online classes. How many people here are teaching only face-to-face? Okay. I teach only face-to-face and one hybrid, so very good. Only online? Well, that would be silly to come to this. Okay, you teach them both. Okay, so hopefully you'll pick up something here. I know when I go to these conferences, I always pick up something. And these slides, I guess it's like all the slides for all the presentations. There'll be a central place for you to have access to these slides after the fact. So I'm going to go through a lot of these, and I'm playing around with. I actually have some screenshots. I'm going to take you out to my course to show you some of these things. Now, as I go through a thing, if you have any questions or comments, we're a small group, so go ahead and kind of speak up. But when I think of what things are important in Canvas, now this could be like almost to the borderline new teacher, so I apologize if I'm insulting anybody's intelligence. But you may or may not know that an important aspect of Canvas is what do you want your homepage to look like. Okay, so one of the things as a face-to-face teacher, if you're trying to use Canvas to your benefit, then you want to hit students over the head with your homepage. Okay, so if you click choose homepage, you get this right here. Okay, so what I want to kind of talk you through first right quick is to go ahead and create a page, okay? And what I'm trying to do is that I'm going to have a page for each of my units, okay? And then when I switch to a new unit, I just open my page, copy the content if I'm using pushing my course syllabus, or this is what I push out first. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and make a page as what the students see first, okay, then what we're going to have to do is set up a page. And it's funny because sometimes when you teach things, you're like, and again, I don't know what anybody's at in here, but you're like, well, how do I teach about pages? Well, to me, I teach about pages by kind of talking about the structure of Canvas. Okay. So I think when I first started Canvas, like, goodness, a year ago, they really emphasized this idea of modules. How many people in here are using modules? Okay. So what a module is just a way to kind of keep content together, kind of present it, push it out there to your students. So in other words, I'm not going to have my students just see the pages. The pages are going to live in the modules. So with that kind of in mind, and there'll probably be more about that maybe this week or this conference. If I go to my modules and I click on, say I want to add something under Unit 1 Resources, if I click on Unit 1 Resources, it looks like this. So to add a page, okay, I'm going to go ahead and, it must be coming up. So these are my pages. Now, a cool thing about Canvas is this actually, once you've used Canvas for a while, you can tell the page, this is a page icon. Okay. Oh, man. Well, those are my pages. Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. All right. So let's just say that I mentioned that I like to kind of for my Unit 1 face-to-face students, I want to kind of push out a certain topic. That's the first thing that's going to hit them over the head when they open up Canvas. If this is what I want, then I open up the helpful links, Unit 1 helpful links. I open that up, and here's my Unit 1 helpful links page. And then I just go over to, it's all about the 3 little dots. If you don't know what to do, either look for the edit button or the 3 little dots. In this case, the 3 little dots. And if I want to make this my home page, all I got to do is go ahead and say use this as my front page. That's it. That was my point. Okay. So now this is what's going to appear for my students. Okay. Okay. I just left, there's a lot of talk about videos, the advantages to using videos in your courses. How many people use videos in their courses? So do you record yours, or do you use other people's, or a combination?
Use other people's.
Other people's? Why reinvent something that's already awesome?
Well, my students don't want to look at my ugly mug, so.
I don't like my voice.
Okay.
I did one.
Well, you could use his videos, and he could use your videos. There are a lot of good videos out there, and so for our face-to-face classes, not just online, sometimes the videos can reinforce what's going on. So a couple things, I've got actually 2 things up here. Let's see if I can find my pencil. Actually, something kind of just new to me since I've been kind of playing around with what I want to do with my face-to-face classes. But anybody in here use Films on Demand? Okay. I'm like, oh, science. They don't have stuff for science. I teach chemistry. They don't have stuff for Films on Demand. Doesn't have stuff for science. Oh, yes, they do. It's amazing. Now, if you want to use Films on Demand, you need to go to the, this actually is in the course settings. I don't know if I think I'll go out there in a minute. This is in the course settings, and you have to go to this app tab. By default, when you go to course settings, you're going to be under course details. So you have to scroll over, click on apps, and my goodness gracious, if you start putting in the search that says filter by, if you simply put in films or Films on Demand, there's going to be a Films on Demand icon. If you start typing in YouTube, there's going to be a YouTube thing here. Okay. Now with Pearson, what we used to do is we could embed YouTube videos. Okay, and we still can. You can go to HTML view and all that, but it's so much easier now. So in order to do this, you're going to have to install those 2 apps. Okay. So once you install those apps, now when you go back to your course, I don't know if you recognize this, but this is a screenshot of what this is your edit box. This is your edit box. Looks familiar. You see it in discussions. You see it in pages. Okay. Now, once you've added those apps, and it took me a little while, but that little Q is the app Quizlet. Anybody even use Quizlet? It's on my list of things to do. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. It's free, right? Anybody know what this little green leaf is?
That's Khan.
It is Khan Academy. Very good. I wouldn't know until you hover over it, but I added Khan. And that's another one where I was looking for videos for my Gen Chem 2 students because they're like, blah, 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 right? They want to hear it from somebody else. And he does a good job with some chemistry topics. And then these right here, see, who would have thought? Now, Canvas is a great product, but I'm sorry, this little kind of downward thing, you're like, what does that do? Well, that shows you your hidden apps. Okay? So if you're like me, play around with it and you can find it. So of course, there's the Films on Demand app that I added, and there's the YouTube app that I added. And actually, one of the things I want to just briefly touch on is you can actually add Twitter to your any page, any discussion. Okay, so once you go to your course, and if I were to click Films on Demand, this is what it would look like. And for those of you who are already a fan of Films on Demand, you know kind of how powerful it is. I double checked with my students because, like I said, I haven't used it regularly, and they can open it up and view it. So all you do is put in your keyword here, you have some different filter options. You can look for it in the title, the keyword. You can look for it in the body of the video, and it will give you these videos or video segments. Then, okay. Then if you're where you want it to be in your course, go ahead and click the embed. And I'm going to show you here in a minute how I kind of like to organize them, what I think works well. But I went with small. If you go with small, you can back it 3 across, you know. All right. So one of the things I'm going to go to while I'm at this conference is how do you get things, I hope they're going to talk about how do you get things centered or kind of left, right, you know, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. It drives me nuts. But if we use tables, I don't know if anybody have used tables in here before. This is an old trick we did in Pearson too. If you use tables, you can kind of force the material to go where you want it to go. I mentioned 3 videos across, so this is where tables can get you 3 videos across. So if I'm going to go, if I have 9 videos, which I don't think I have 9 videos, I think I might have 2 sets of 6 videos. You go ahead and make the size of the table you want. And then once you create the table, this is what it's going to look like in your edit box. Okay? That little line there is where I have my cursor. So what's going to happen then is that the box is going to expand when I start putting stuff in there. So I want to put a video there, so I put the cursor in my cell. Okay? I got way too many builds here. Oops, sorry. And then I'm going to open up my little chevron looking thingy. I'm going to click Films on Demand, type in chemistry, choose the embedded, small embedded form thing that I want, and ta-da, it's going to show up right there. My second video in the same row, I'm going to put my cursor here. Third video here. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so let's see. Hopefully. So here are my courses. Now, one of the things I also want to kind of touch on, how many people, because I'm proud of my little pictures, how many people put pictures for their boxes? Oh, yes. Very good. We'll talk just briefly about that. It's really easy. But what I want to show you, what did I want to show you? Oh, so I wanted to show you my Chem 2. And we're talking about chemical equilibria. And by golly, would you believe that out there in Films on Demand, they have videos about chemical equilibria. You're like, go figure. You know?
I was just watching one last night.
About chemical equilibria?
Sorry.
Oh, I love it. I'm glad to hear that, Tom. So,
Anyway.
so here's my 2 sets of 3. So here's where my table is. And you can kind of see that, yeah, they don't show the whole box. Remember, this is the small version. But you can kind of scroll over and see the whole box if you want. This is Films on Demand. They give the title so students can see the title, see if they're interested.
Stupid question.
Yeah.
You click on that, you can't maximize it, right?
So this is in instructor view, and I have problems in student view. But yes, you can. So we'll play that one. This is one you watched last night, Tom?
Yeah.
So I need to scroll over. Wait, I think so. Oh, there it is. Wait, I saw it.
Divided by concentration of reactants multiplied together.
Oh, there we go.
If there are coefficients for
So,
substances in a chemical reaction,
you know.
the concentration of that substance must be raised to a power.
So anyway, I think that's pretty cool. And actually, one of my things about the tables is if you want to kind of put some graphics, you can kind of play around with tables too, to force them to go where you want them to go. But I'm hoping to learn some more today about how to make that happen. Okay. Any questions about that? Oh, I did have little notes. Okay. We better stop this one. We're paying for that. Bandwidth and all, right? Okay. Where did we? Whoa, we're just zipping right along here. Okay. Actually, the next thing, see if you're kind of We're still on number 1, but we're doing fine here. Okay, one of the other things I wanted to mention with regard to any page, you can add this Twitter feed. So let me show you kind of what my Twitter feed looks like. Okay, this is back to my Gen Chem, this is instructor view, but students should see something similar. At the bottom, I've actually got 2, anybody in here do Twitter? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so you do Twitter? I don't know. I don't do Twitter outside of class, so, yeah. Actually, and it's a whole nother story, but each one of my classes has a Twitter feed, you know? And so what I do with Twitter feed is it's my place after class. Actually, that's where I post my videos that I recorded during class. And also in my class Twitter feed, that's what I say what's going to be due when. So then when students come and say, Mrs. Knight, is it due blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, well, let's pull up Twitter and find out. So they can't like say, yeah. So anyway. And then this other one, that anytime you use a hashtag in Twitter, like say you have some popular thing that's trending out in society, there's probably a hashtag for it, okay? And so you can actually, I'll show you how, create a Twitter feed that would have that hashtag. So it looks like this. Maybe. Oh, there it goes. And all it is it's going to be, it's another app. Remember, Twitter is an app. So you're going to go to, if you're me, go to that, oh, are you serious? If you're me, you're going to go, it only does what you ask it to do. Go to that chevron looking thing. Okay, so there's my Twitter. And once you pull that up, again, you're in your edit screen. This is kind of your edit box. You hit Twitter, and it's going to say, well, what do you want? Do you want a hashtag, or do you want to go ahead and put up an like follow somebody or something? So I went ahead and did global warming, and it showed up as a feed for my other class. You can preview it, and then this is what global warming would look like. So anyway.
So it just shows tweets. It's not that students can't tweet from there. It just shows tweets.
Right. It just shows tweets and
or either a particular handle or a particular.
Yes. Yeah. It'll just and it'll be a scrolling. I like things that I don't have to work,
Yeah.
and it's just like a flowing thing. Yeah. It's like a feed. Yeah. And so here is my embed, and then it shows up. So cool. On to number 2 out of what, 16? Who's counting? There is no number 6, or if that helps. Anyway, that's the whole beauty of something. How many people in here use the Gradebook? Okay, very good. Well, this is just some highlights about the Gradebook. You guys already know this. This is for, again, kind of if people are trying to get dip their feet in Canvas. Our school, actually, with regard to the Gradebook, how many people then go ahead and have a grading scheme associated with their Gradebook? Okay. All the grading scheme is basically it applies your syllabus percents. And then if you have a grading scheme, then the last column is going to see your A, B, C, or D. It's wonderful. And that's important for the next thing I was going to say. What we've done, this is my last question, has your college done this? Because we're excited about this. Whatever your grade is in Canvas, according to your grading scheme and what students have earned and what's in your gradebook, how many people have a way to take that and to push it out to your registrar in midterm and finals? You do. It's the grade publish. Yay! I'm so excited. So grade publish. I'm sorry, but it's a big area. So anyway, so assignments, there's all sorts of different ways to create assignments, and then what I said actually, and the reason it's grayed out goes back to the modules. My assignments are not standalone assignments, my assignments live in the modules. Now if you're just doing it for your Gradebook, you probably know that all you need is a name, and you don't even have to put anything in that box. So I'm like, when I tell people, I'm like, dude, you can do this. Okay, nothing is optional. But one of the things, though, you probably want to do is address this here. You know, if you're just only doing it for, your face-to-face class, and you don't want them to turn anything in, you're just probably going to go, and there's a subtle difference between no submission and on paper. And I looked that up. I can't remember what the difference is. But anyway, anybody know what the difference is? Either one of those would work, because you're not looking for something from the student. Now, I have item number 8, if you want to clear up to item number 8. All I said was, if you are teaching in a face-to-face environment and you want to use Canvas as a way for students to send their assignments to you, all you got to do is under submission type, you need to select online. Now, actually in my physical science class, what I do in my astronomy class is I leave it online, and then they can do either. So I'm like, you can have it to me by 3 p.m. that day, or midnight if you want to do it online. So either way. Okay. One of the things, if you're like me, when I was first playing with Canvas, is I would create an assignment and it didn't show up in my gradebook. And of course, the reason is you had to save and you had to publish the darn thing. And publish is a scary word to, I've worked with faculty and they're like, I don't want to publish. It's okay, you can publish. so anyway. And then the other thing, and I'm going to talk about calendar. How many people in here kind of use the calendar? All right. That's cool. Now, in order to use the calendar, you're going to be looking at, there's actually, associated with assignments anyway, 3 dates. This due date is what's going to show up on your calendar, and the other 2 dates are the windows. Okay. All right. So, how many, you guys are doing great by this whole answer. How many people, in their assignments have assignment groups? Okay. Now, the reason you would consider groups is if you look at the end of your syllabus, you probably have something that looks like the end of my syllabus. I have something that says assignments, lab, unit exams, final exam. Okay, I have those elements at the end of my syllabus. And in creating groups, and the way you create a group is you just do the plus group. In creating groups, then, you can place those things within the groups. And are you guys like me? I like to drag and, click and drag, click and drag. So basically what happens is I have these groups under my assignments. Now, are all these things assignments? No, I know it feels weird to under assignments put exams, but that's what you do. Now, I know a lot of teachers do points, but I don't know how many points my stuff's going to be, so I do percents. So my syllabus says that 15% of your overall course grade will come from assignments, 25% from labs, etc. How many people in here use the weighted average? It's a thought, either way works. If you want to use the weighted average, then what you'll do is go to your assignments and click these 3 buttons, and then you'll have assignment group weight. This box will come up, click please apply, weight my final grade, and then fill in the percents. Any questions? Tom's making a face. One of the things I'm going to talk about is taking attendance. How many people can take attendance with their Canvas? Oh, popcorn, yes. Face to face, take attendance. Yeah. Now, do you have attendance count towards your overall course grade? No. Okay. No, I don't either. Yeah. So that's why mine's 0.
And we have, it's mandatory to take attendance, isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be in Canvas. Yes,
right,
it
but
is
it
mandatory.
doesn't have to be on campus.
Yes, it is mandatory. I would think it's mandatory for all of us, yeah. No?
It is for financial
It is,
purposes,
yes.
you have to know the last day of attendance,
Yeah.
is what we've been told.
Yeah. One of the things, some of you guys might be going to the dropout detective thing, and that's a big kind of cool hairy deal. And actually for your face-to-face classes, you need to take attendance. It's an element in dropout detective. So, right?
Yes.
One of the other ways, the way I do it, I hate taking attendance. I don't want to even waste a minute on it. So I just have, basically it's set up under the discussions. I have a threaded discussion called Question of the Day. And the students are required every single day that class meets to go in and respond to an item that I have there. And I tell them, and it's in my syllabus, if you don't, I don't care if you sat in the front row, I shook hands with you, we talked for 20 minutes individually, you do not get credit for being there because this is like, it's like a sign-in sheet. And so if I ever have somebody come back and say, when was the last time Bubba was in class? I just pull up and my Gradebook is already showing me that. And that, so I don't have to do anything as far as checking attendance. It's on the student, it falls back on them to do it. So.
So what are you gonna do about what Ed is looking for that element in your, or not what Ed, sorry, what Dropout Detective is looking for that element?
They're not gonna find it.
Right.
They're just not gonna find it because I just don't use that. And unless somebody tells me I have to use it, I won't, because again, I just don't want to waste. I don't want to waste the time with it.
Yeah, my classes are smaller, small enough, smaller. A lot of times I'll take attendance after I've done my 3 back-to-back classes because I'm like, well, I know she wasn't here. I know he wasn't there.
Yeah, but I mean, I some of mine, I've got 40, 45 students in
Yeah,
there. And
that's true. It'd be a drag.
that takes a little time to work through that.
Yeah. Yep. So the calendar, a lot of people already use calendar. Now, did you maybe already know this? Because I didn't.
If you put something on the calendar, you know you can click and drag and move it and it changes the dates? Is that not awesome or what? So I was just going to kind of show you. You guys are already using this. One of the things I always thought was weird, so this is in my Canvas course, is if like the calendar is not associated with the course. It is, but it isn't. Like you have a global calendar. And then over here, of course, would be like I can click these and then my calendar gets very busy. Okay? Hopefully it's thinking. So you basically select or deselect what you don't want to see or want to see. I mentioned you can drag, so I'm actually going to make these go away, except for something called chemistry collaboration. So I only have a few dates down here, and actually I added this one. So if you want to, you can just move it to where it is. You can also, in calendar mode, open it up and you can edit it. Okay, so students in their own view can add things, like if they had a dentist appointment here, they could go ahead and make an event, probably instead of assignment, write dentist. Okay, so I think that's kind of fun. They could say when it is, you know, location. It's just kind of fun. Anyway.
Have you figured out how to drag from March to April?
No, the only thing I knew is to edit it and to put it in the next month. Yeah, because I played around with it and I could not make it. Nope, I could not make it do it. So then it's in April.
But like when the weeks fall, like there's middle of the week, like if March fell in the middle of the week, then you can move.
That's right, because down here is May. I could move this person down here, and it's in the month of May. Yep, exactly. So I think that was it. And I have all sorts of things under item number 3, like there's the export options and things like that. I think are pretty cool. Number 4 we already kind of talked about, but I'll kind of show you what that would look like. So again, I said I have kind of small classes, and I do. I'm going to open up a class, and I have attendance here in my navigation. And one of the things that throws me off, or used to throw me off, is when you come here, you don't see any students listed, and you're like, oh man. So you have to go up here to this list and go ahead and say, well, that's the ones I want. And it'll bring the students in. I mentioned that oftentimes I have small classes, I say all present, and then I go back and say, oh, well, Ashley wasn't there. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't Monday, it was Friday. She's like, drat.
That happens a lot with her.
What's that?
That happens a lot with her.
Happens a lot. So we can go back to Friday, we can be a time machine, and then mark all, and Ashley's going to be really mad at me. So anyway, we can go back and change the time. Now, if I want to know how much, let's see, pick on somebody who's, you guys don't know, well, you guys might know these people. If I want to know the situation with regard to Caitlin's attendance, I could click on here. Out of the 24 times I took attendance, she was absent once. This little contact made, that's actually what we call a badge, or what Canvas calls a badge. I made that because I wanted to know, like, when students send an email to me. So I went ahead and added a badge. So I could have called it email contact, same thing. And you create an icon, you save the badge. Oops, wait a minute, what did it say? An embedded, please, oh, I thought I did. Oh, I needed a color. All right, well, okay. All right, so now I have 2 badges I can apply to people. Gosh, they got noisy over there.
That issue that you have when you have to click on the drop down is to get to the actual list of students. We had that problem the first semester also, and it's some way that they created the shells. That can be fixed because I don't have that problem anymore.
Okay, I'll have to talk to Katie about it.
Yeah, because Alicia.
They just show up now.
Yeah, my list
And
just
you're
shows up.
from?
Northwest Iowa.
Okay, thanks.
So Gretchen or Alicia up there
I will.
knows how to fix that.
Okay, that's good to
You
know.
know, I don't think they can fix it in term and when they set it up for the next term. it could be
Okay,
corrected.
thank you, because that will help. Student collaboration, actually, if I go to my student collaboration slide, I was going to say let the experts take it from here, because this is what I mean. How many people in here, I'll go back to my dashboard, I really didn't have to. Well, I won't ask in the form of a question. I'll just say I think the help is wonderful in Canvas. If I click here, help. I've chatted with people before. I've never called anybody, but chat's real great. And then, oh my gosh, the search Canvas guides, wonderful. So if I wanted to know more about student collaboration, I would go to search the guide, student collaboration, because I kind of said some of the highlights on my sheet. It's amazing what they can do. They can create their own groups, whether they're studying or they have a common project. They have all sorts of options then. The other thing, this was, I don't know if anybody else out here is doing this, but I think it's a cool idea. Chemistry collaboration. It's a course that just has 2 people in it right now. Okay, it's both of the chemistry instructors at where I teach, Southeastern Community College. The other chemistry instructor happens to be my husband, but that's fine. And my little hint to what I sent with you guys is just tell IT that you want a sandbox, sort of to speak, for you and people that you have things in common with, that you want to deposit things, pull things from. It's free. Make it in your developmental term. That's what I did. So anyway, number 8 we already talked about. Number 9 looks like this. And again, this is definitely stuff that is similar to, online or face-to-face. I bet, oh, come on. Wake up. There it goes. I bet you guys have dabbled in this. There are a couple of ways of pushing out files. My first thing here says, well, how do you get the files up to your Canvas course? And you probably already know this. You click on Files, and I got chopped off. In the plus folder, if you want to kind of stay organized, and then Upload. It's great. Ooh, bless you. I think it's easier than Pearson. Now, when you want to share a file with students, it kind of depends on how many files you have. If it's onesies or twosies, this works real well. I'm back in my module. If I click plus, one of my options of things to add is a file. And when I click File, it's going to take me out to the files I have for that course. I click that, and then it's going to show up in that module as a standalone document. The thing is that for most of us, we have a bunch of documents we want to have or share with our students. So what I think works well is if you go ahead and create a page. Now, if your page doesn't exist, you can create a new one. I kind of show you there. Now, once you're on your page, then you are going to go to your box, put the cursor where you want your file to appear. Over here, you're going to have a tab that says Files. Click on the file you want to insert, and there it is. Now, you probably already know this too, but if I didn't want my file to have this kind of nondescript name, if I wanted my file to say Chemical Reactivity Lab, then I could write that text, highlight it, and then click on the document. So then this becomes a highlight. So that's kind of. Okay, so I'm glad we got to this because I know we're running out of time. So a few things about your dashboard. One of the things that drives me nuts about the dashboard is they have this big long name. Actually, this big long name, you can kind of see it. It's the second line here. I'm like, that's not what I took in my course. It's chemistry and context. So actually, what you can do is click on the 3 dots here. Okay, click on the 3 dots. This box will come up. You can't break it. Go ahead and change the name, shorten it, most likely. Pick a color you like. Okay, and apply. And there you go. Now, one of my things is that by default, Canvas puts these little creepy overlays over that kind of makes them fuzzy. So consider removing the overlay. When you're in dashboard mode, click on the 3 dots, and the bottom of there is going to say color overlay. Deselect that thing. I don't know why they put that ghosty overlay there. Drives me nuts. Okay. Then I wanted to mention before I go this idea of going ahead and putting those pretty pictures here. The view you're looking at is under the course, the specific course I want to change the icon for. Scroll down and go to settings, and the first tab or page on settings is course detail. And then you just click these 3 dots. And these 3 dots then will give you that option to bring an image in. I think it needs to be on the computer you're working on. Okay. That's it. That's it. Oh, my little thing here is when you say choose image, you can either browse your computer or you can go out and just pick one off of Flickr. So all sorts of options. Any questions or comments? I know there are a few other things, but I just kind of just. That's a lot, but. One of the things, I guess, anybody using, I got a McGraw-Hill book, I'm using Connect with it. Connect is an app, and it just integrates just beautifully. So I go out there and I take Connect stuff, and it just seamlessly talks to Canvas. It's amazing.
So I noticed you were using OpenStax for your chemistry.
And astronomy.
And astronomy. I'm using OpenStax. Do you use Connect with the chemistry then?
No. No, I'm only using Connect with my chemistry and context.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you got my contact information in case you have any last questions. But
One thing I noticed on your, and I learned this the hard way, on setting up due dates and when an assignment's open and closes and whatever. Did anybody else besides me allow for late submission? If you have a student, can they turn in an assignment late for you? Okay, if not, then due date is the closing date.
oh,
But if you will allow late submissions of things, then you can expand it out. And like I give mine, depending on what it is, they may have like a week. You know, you can't turn it in late, you are gonna lose points. You can only achieve, half the maximum, half the number.
But it closes at the end of the week.
And it already highlights in the Gradebook that it was a late submission. But if you have already closed it, then they can't do anything with it. Now, for mine, anything that's a discussion, that closes, that's a hard date there's no point in talking to
They can
yourself.
click away and it's not opening.
Yeah, and that doesn't open again. But if it's something else, I do, depending on what it is, allow a little flex time. So you may have, again, if you're allowing late submissions, that saves you having to go back, reopen it, you know, and going through.
It's in your syllabus how much extension they beyond the due date
Right.
they have, so, yeah.
And you don't have to go through that dance with the student, and so,
Yeah.
but just a quick, you know, because I was having to do that individually with students. Oh, okay.
Right.
I think another thing you could maybe do with discussions, if you wanted students to be able to still see what was discussed, I think there's an option to close up the comments.
Yeah.
So that if you put a hard date, an access date, they won't even be able to get to it and see what the discussion topics were, which may be okay in some situations, but if you want to be able to like review that for some reason or another, I think you can click on close for comments and
And
then
they wouldn't get credit, but they could view it.
they can't get in there
Yeah,
and do any more posting, but they could see what was there.
Yeah.
That would be just another option.
Okay. So are you using a discussion question in your face-to-face class? Or?
Me?
Yeah.
Not in face-to-face, I don't use discussion questions.
Yeah, Lee does too. I guess I'm reluctant to make my students find their way to Canvas. Now it's getting more, my stuff for my face-to-face students is if you find your way to Canvas, there's some awesome things there. If you don't, you should probably.
I like it because, and especially with discussions, and I do use them in every section, every course. And I tell my students is you can't be a backrow beauty. You can't be one of those folks who just sits there, never opens their mouth, never contributes to the conversation. You can't do that if you're using the Canvas. And make it, it doesn't have to be a lot, but make it a graded thing. And, any individual discussion you miss isn't worth much, but if you blow them all off, that's maybe 10% of your course grade, and you can't really screw it up unless you don't do it. But it makes everybody get involved. I like that part.
The problem I run into though with youth discussion is that the timing when they all try to put it in together. So you have some who do it, some who don't do it, and then if there's a response, then someone delayed in response will don't do it at all, and then I end up having to dock the point. So I have problems when they submit, but more their problem because they're responsible for it.
The discussion that I use, that I track attendance with, I also use it for self-evaluation because it's the same 3 questions that they can choose which one to respond to. What did you learn that was new today? Did you hear something that you would like to know more about? Is there something you really disagreed with? And I can use that for feedback on how each day went. And I like that. That's more valuable to me than any student evaluation form that we have the institution putting out there.
I make my students use it primarily because some of them are transferring on and they're gonna have to learn another one when they transfer on. And so,
So you make your face-to-face students.
yeah, they have to
Yeah.
engage with Canvas.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be there at some point on it.
It's a transfer skill that allows them to transfer well and easily.
I know Iowa State and Iowa are both using, I don't know about you and I, but are
Especially in
using,
grad school now.
what's that?
Especially in grad school.
Okay.
Because I'm in grad school, I take other courses.
Using Canvas in grad school?
Now I'm using like a color compass.
But you have to find your way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. I mean, once you've used one, you have
Okay.
a pretty good understanding of how to use any of them.
Because there's some people in my class who are just totally lost because they don't do that type of learning system.
Yeah. Good to hear. Very good. Okay, well, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Andy.
welcome.
Thanks.
Sounds good.